back. I'm Kim Bailey and this is Floral Art Online, and you're watching the Make It Floral series, which is a companion video series to 20 workshops that I conduct for people who just want to learn a little bit about how to do things with flowers. So this is for absolute beginners who have no experience in using flowers for anything, and what I'm showing you in this series is about 20 or so techniques to make all sorts of different things so that you can explore your creativity as well as enhance some of the activities or events or celebrations that you might be having. Today we're going to look at 2 ways to do napkin rings, and these are both more or less rustic styles, so that if you're looking for something elegant for a dinner party, these are probably not going to suit you so much, but have a watch and see, because the technique itself might lend itself to an idea that you've got in the back of your mind, and you'll be able to adapt the technique. That's what the series is about, learning the technique so that you can use it in your particular way. So let's get started. What we're doing first of all is using toilet paper rolls to make a serviette ring. So one roll will make 3, so pre-cut already. Magic, the magic that is video recording. So this is the base of our napkin ring. I'm going to cover it with some jute string to give it the rustic look. You could cover it with anything you like, with felt, with cork. You can get the cork strips that are adhesive. I haven't had a whole lot of success with the adhesive style, but I find that I still have to stick it down. So I'm going to cover this with the string, and then we'll come back. Just in terms of covering it with string, because it's a fabric and a paper base, you could use PVA. I'm going to use the florist glue because I've got that on hand and I can't find my PVA at the moment. The beauty of using the PVA is that once it's joined, you could use double-sided tape as well, but once it's joined, if you wash it over or paint it with the PVA, it's going to make it much stiffer and therefore give you more stability for the napkin ring itself. So give me a couple of minutes to cover this up for you, and we'll be back to do the decoration. So here we have our toilet roll holder covered with the jute string, and I am simply going to add some dried gum nuts to it. Not gum nuts, bottle brush, seed heads, just to give it that rustic look. So I'm just going to glue that on. As always with the florist glue, the cold glue, you need to give it just a little bit of time to air activate to make it nice and tacky. Just trim that off a little bit more, and we just glue that on. And so very simply we have a nice celebratory rustic napkin ring for your bush party or for your farmhouse activities. So again, you can decorate it with anything. If you wanted to, if you were doing a wedding or a party and you wanted to match it with all of your other decor, you can glue on obviously the fresh flowers. Gives people something to take home with them afterwards to remember the night by, or the day, or the activity. And very simple, quick to make. You can make it well ahead of time, not going to deteriorate, and in the event that people don't take them home with them, you've got a base to use for something else. So there is our first napkin ring, very simply with the toilet roll, cardboard holder, covering it and then decorating it. With the second serviette ring, I've brought you in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing, because we're going to join some sticks with the tatami, the flat tatami method. So you'll need a range of sticks or some sort of relatively straight bit of plant material. You could do it with foliage, with swordgrass, with flax, with that sort of thing, but you've got to remember that will dry a little bit, and so it will shrink somewhat, whereas with the fully dried stuff, so the sticks, or I have used the palm inflorescence as well, so the structure that is left after the orange seeds all fall off, and you can cut that up into smaller pieces and do this technique. And two long pieces of paper covered wire. Now that we'll halve, and this is the basic technique that you would use. So and here I'm doing 2 twists in between just to keep it nice and even spacing between them. So there we have our star. So it's put your stick, I'll refer to sticks regardless of what you're using. So put that put that through, loop over your wire, 2 twists of the wire, and then you put in the next one in between the wires, and 2 twists. And then you just continue that along for all of your sticks. Now I've got, I think I worked out about 18 here. I could have made them a little bit shorter, but I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing. So I've made them longer this way than perhaps they need to be, although that might be a feature of what you're doing. Doesn't matter. Now this one's a little bit crooked. Doesn't matter so long as you angle it either up or down the way you want it to keep that spacing reasonably regular. I'm going to put it up. And so you get this little fence effect. And I know when, oh whoops, I've broken that one. So that's a reject. I'll put a stronger one in. When I did one of the workshops, the group that were there decided that they were really taken with this as a fencing for little fairy castles and things. So very adaptable. It's a very useful technique. If you have seen the video on the coasters, the drink coasters, we use it there in a spiral shape to make a coaster with some foliage. But as you can see, just a nice, easy technique. And once we've got it to a certain length that you're comfortable with, depending on the size of your plant material, we'll bring it around into the circle and decorate it. So I shall keep going with this. I'm sure you can think of dozens of ways that you would be able to use this technique. So we've come to the end of our line, the end of our plant material. We've got a little bit of leftover wire, so what we're going to do is just basically make it into a circle and bind off our wire on that first stick that we had in the same way as we've been doing. And either trim the ends or tuck them through the mesh that you've made. And so there we have our napkin ring. You could trim the ends off obviously, but you might like to leave it a little bit more rustic like that. And then all we need to do is decorate it. Once again, I would suggest that probably dried plant material is going to be better, but you could obviously have fresh plant material. I would suggest using the florist glue this time. I'm just going to use some dried rice flowers to put onto it. Oops, they're alive. And I'm going to glue them on. handy glue holder there. I'm just making sure that there are a number of touch points for this plant material because it is quite brittle. I'm just making, as I said, just making sure that it's being glued in a couple of positions. So there we have our, very bad camera direction, putting my arms straight across in front of the camera for you so you couldn't see. But there we have our second napkin ring. Ready for our party. So that's our 2 napkin rings, she said, leaning over to grab the other one. So there we have our 2 napkin rings. Very simple techniques that I'm sure you can adapt for all sorts of occasions that you're going to be hosting. I'm Kim Bailey, this is Floral Art Online, the Make It Floral workshop series.